U.S. History students, today I'll be reading the Quarter 1 test to you. The test has 30 questions. I will be reading the question and the answer responses. Question 1. Why do we know so little about early Native American cultures? European diseases killed off many Native American cultures, and many tribes did not have written language, so historical evidence is limited. Little funding has been raised to financially support archaeological digs of ancient Native American sites. The nomadic tribes burned all documents and selected artifacts before they moved to new locations, so no information is available. Question number 2. What effect did the geography and climate of America have on the culture of Native American groups? It caused all Native tribes to be the same. It impacted material and intellectual culture, what they used for shelter, clothes, and religion. It was responsible for their disappearance long before European explorers arrived. Question 3. What primarily motivated European nations to finance voyages of exploration in the 15th and 16th century? A desire for riches, knowledge, and power, a desire to spread democracy, the need for additional land. Question number 4. Choose the two options that correctly describe the impacts of the Columbian Exchange on the New World, the Americas, and the Old World, Europe. Exchange of food, crops, and animals. Growing economy for the Old World, the New World used as an abundant source of raw materials and labor. Growing economy for the New World. Native American tribes took advantage of European explorers who did not know the resources and their value in the New World. Question number 5. Match the groups of people with their reasons for coming to the Americas. We have for the option of groups, nomadic native tribes, Jamestown and Roanoke settlers, English Puritans in the New England colonies. For the reasons they came, religious freedom, access to food, and to make a profit from new resources. Question number 6. Thousands of English Puritans arrived in Massachusetts Bay during the Great Migration. Why were they coming to the colony? They came to get rich from the gold found in the Massachusetts Bay colony. They came to find jobs in the factories in the north. They fled from religious persecution in England. Question number 7. What best describes the relationship between geography and economics in the British colonies? All of the colonies benefited from having good soil and long growing season. The diverse geography of the colonies encouraged different economic pursuits. The geography of the colonies had little influence on the economies that developed. Question 8. Why did slavery replace indentured servitude in the colonies as time went on? Indentured servants left plantations and the end of their servitude. Plantation owners were able to convert slaves to Christianity. Indentured servant often rebelled and rebelled violently. Question number 9. Which statement accurately describes the impact of the French and Indian War on the British and the colonies? The British were able to convert native tribes into English citizens. The British and North American colonies improved relations with each other after working together in the war to defeat the French. The British gained land but lost a lot of money, leading them to tax the colonies. Question 10. What did radical colonists and radical writings such as Common Sense urge the colonists to do? Move out into the frontier and live among the natives, declare independence and establish a republic, insist upon having representation in British Parliament. Match the colonial protests to the British policy it was in response to. The protests are here on the left: Boston Tea Party, Boston Massacre, and settling west of the Appalachian Mountains. The actions they were in response to are listed as 1, 2, and 3. This was in defiance of the Proclamation of 1763. This was a response to the monopoly of trade given to the British East India Tea Company. And finally, Parliament sent more troops to Boston and forced colonists to house them, creating more tension between these groups. Question 12. What influence did English philosopher John Locke have on the Declaration of Independence? Locke argued that the government should protect people's natural rights of life, liberty, and property. Thomas Jefferson was in communication with John Locke before the committee met to write the Declaration. Locke had formed a British Committee for Independence, which the American Committee patterned itself after. Question 13. What was the role France played in the American Revolution? They provided arms and ammunition to the British soldiers. They sent commanders to train the Continental Army in winter camps. They sent much-needed financial and naval support, as well as military advisors to the colonists. Question 14. The Articles of Confederation included a very weak central government. Why were many Americans suspicious of a strong central government? They were concerned about a central government taking too much power and becoming like another king. They didn't understand how a central government could work with such a large country. They could not agree on a structure for a central government. Question 15. Why was the Articles of Confederation eventually replaced by the U.S. Constitution? The Articles did not give the power to tax, could not settle state disputes, and made it too difficult to approve law or change the article. The article was not a document recognized by the rest of the international community. The articles violated the Declaration of Independence and was removed during the Second American Revolution. Question 16. What did the Three-Fifths Compromise achieve? It specified the number of states necessary for ratification of an amendment. It designated how women and children were to be counted for representation and taxation. It determined how enslaved people were to be counted for representation and taxation. Question 17. What did the Great Compromise or Connecticut Compromise do in our Constitution? It created the Supreme Court, allowed for a two-house Congress, one based on 2 delegates from each state, the other number of delegates based on population from each state, and the last option created the Electoral College for presidential elections. Who would make the following statement? The Constitution will protect the American people because it includes checks and balances. A Federalist or an Anti-Federalist? Question 19. Which group states the goals of the U.S. Constitution as found in the preamble? Group A, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Group B, secure freedom from Britain, establish 3 branches of government, set up a cabinet, legalize collection of taxes. Question 20. Please match the branch of government with its description. On the left, we have the branches listed: legislative, judicial, and executive. On the right, you have the descriptions. The first says, the president is the head of this branch. It is also made up of independent government agencies. Their main responsibility is to enforce the laws. Number 2, this branch is formed by the Congress, which is made up of the House of Representatives and Senate. Their main responsibility is to create the laws. Question number 3, this branch is formed by the courts. It is made up of the Supreme Court, the Courts of Appeal, and district courts. Question 21, what is the definition of the phrase checks and balances? It is a system that gives more power to the executive branch, a system under which each of the 3 branches of government limits the power of the other 2 branches, a system that gives the states more power than the federal government. Question 22. Why were the Bill of Rights added to the Constitution? To strengthen the central government, to prevent the government from taking away personal rights, or to remedy the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation? All of these groups of people were excluded from the democratic process under the new Constitution except women, white male landowners, African Americans. Which of the following was not a precedent or a presidential first set by George Washington during his term as the first president? Establishing a group of advisors known as the cabinet, creating the political party system, or left voluntarily after serving 2 terms, creating an unofficial 2-term limit. Question 25. Hamilton and Jefferson frequently disagreed with one another, especially when it came to Hamilton's financial policy. and the creation of the Bank of the United States. What concept was at the center of this debate and was most responsible for causing the formation of two political parties? Was it the tariff on imported goods, delayed payment of pensions to soldiers who fought in the Continental Congress, or the powers of the federal government provided in the Constitution? Question 26. Which statement best describes the election of 1800? No one won the majority of electoral college votes, so the decision went to the House of Representatives. The election showed that it was finally Thomas Jefferson's chance to be president, so he won in a landslide. John Adams would have won, but he and Aaron Burr got into a duel and he was killed, so Thomas Jefferson became president. Question 27. Which of the following describes how the Louisiana Purchase changed Jefferson's thinking about the Constitution? He believed the power to buy land did belong to the federal government, but he passed it up because it was too expensive. He believed the power to buy land did belong to the federal government, but thought it was wrong to buy it from France when it already belonged to the Native Americans. He believed the power to buy land did not belong to the federal government, but did it anyway because it would double the size of the country and its resources. Question 28. What was the impact of the War of 1812? A stronger sense of nationalism and a period of political agreement, an emphasis on the right to bear arms. The U.S. ended all diplomatic ties with England. Question 29. Choose two of the statements that were terms included in the Missouri Compromise. Missouri was admitted to the Union as a slave state. Slavery was prohibited in new territories both north of the latitude 3630. Maine was admitted as a slave state, and settlers would vote for or against it when a new territory was made. Question 30. What was the message of the Monroe Doctrine? European countries were not to interfere in the Americas, and new European colonies were prohibited. The United States would assist European countries with their colonization efforts. It was an agreement between Monroe and European leaders to never fight against each other in war. When finished with your test, please click on the Submit Quiz button. You may review the questions, what you got right and wrong. Right after finishing the test and submitting it, it will pop up that review view. You can also go to the Progress tab and check out your attempts for any of your past quizzes, including this test, to see which questions you got right or wrong. You may take this test twice, so please do review that should you decide you need to take the test again. Good luck.